发现了敌兵。我的手雷了！
What's going on, guys? In the works, and we are going to be playing a little bit of Naval Strike today on my favorite map, which is Wave Breaker. This is probably my favorite one from the entire DLC, but if you do hear any rumbling in the background, it's because we're getting one of those typical Midwestern thunderstorms where one day it can be 23 degrees and then the next day it's like 70 and there's a thunderstorm rolling through. So just bear with me if it's loud and it sounds like I'm in an earthquake. I assure you I am not. But Naval Strike, you know, I just did a video a couple days ago talking about my first impressions because I downloaded it on the Xbox One, and just a few days later, I think it was this Monday, they actually released it for the PC. So I finally got my hands on it on my native console, and I'm going to kind of do my overview of it, my review, some of the good things, some of the bad things, some of the, you know, kind of in the middle things. Let's start with weapons though, because you may notice I'm using the SR2. This is a weapon I like. I think the weapons as a whole in this DLC pack are really, really awesome. None of them really suck, minus the SR338, which is a DMR that shoots a 338 round, but you know it does DMR damage, and it's got a sniper rifle scope on it, so it's kind of a silly weapon. It doesn't really make sense. The fact that it shoots the, you know, what a lot of people consider the big sniper rifle round, minus the, you know, besides the 50 cal. But it only does like I think max damage is like 50, and then it drops off after like 12 meters. It's not a one-shot kill anymore, so it's kind of a pointless rifle. But other than that weapon, you know, I think they all are pretty solid. We got the AR-160, which you'll see me go on a massive kill streak towards the end of the video with. That's an awesome rifle. I like that one a lot. Then you've got the SR2, which I actually think is the best weapon out of the entire pack, and it's arguably one of the best PDWs now for the engineer class. It is awesome. Now out of range, it gets a little bit harder to kill people, but the 900 RPMs makes it a pleasure to use. I really do like this weapon, so you can definitely foresee a video or two on the SR2 down the line. But let's talk about some of the bad things before we get into some of the good things, because I do have more good things to say than bad things. There has been some performance issues even on the PC. There's been some rubber banding, similar to the way it was on the Xbox One and the PS4. But one thing that I have noticed that the game has introduced is something that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, and that is a fire rate bug. Now, I don't know if this is because of the rubber banding, you know, the server doesn't think that you're firing, but this clip coming up here will show you an instance where my weapon, which shoots 900 rounds per minute, sort of just stops. As I'm getting hit, it just stops firing. This is it right there. So you see I die pretty quickly with ACR, almost instantaneously, the typical thing, but watch the rate of fire on this. It just stops. It just slows down between 17 and 15. We have a constant rate of fire going on this guy. It just stops. It's like my weapon just, you know, the game already has decided that I'm dead, and my weapon just stops firing, which I think is really weird. I think it plays into that netcode thing, but it's happened to me multiple times. This is the time that I think showed the best example of it happening. But I've used it with, you know, other weapons with slower rates of fire, had the same thing happen to me. So it's really weird to me. It's almost like, you know, they've been trying to improve the netcode, but you get into these instances where you're actually already dead. You know, the game knows that you're dead, but you're not dead on your screen. So you notice I died really quickly with that ACR. Actually probably died, you know, maybe 10-15 frames before it actually started showing me damage, because I think that's why the weapon rate of fire just dropped, because I wasn't actually firing my weapon at that point because the game had already assumed that I died. So that's one of the negative things I've seen. It's happened to me quite a few times. So let me know if you've experienced the same thing, because I've been trying to figure out what's actually going on there, because I haven't seen a whole lot about it. But let's talk about some of the game modes. I've already briefly talked about Carrier Assault in my first impressions video. I think I have a better grasp on this game mode now that I've played pretty much exclusively Carrier Assault. I will say this. I am not as negative towards the game mode as I initially was, but I don't think that it plays like Titan mode at all. I've had some really awesome Carrier Assault games. I've come up with a lot of cool strategies with my squad. that actually worked. You know, some of the people we played with, at one point we were just getting dominated, and we figured out that, hey, the only way that we're going to have a chance of winning this is if we just sit here and play defense and hope that, you know, we'll win just by destroying their carrier. And it actually played out. We worked well as a squad. We held them at the last MCOM, and we actually destroyed them because our team was holding the caps on the outside of the base, which I thought was really cool. It's a nice little twist on your typical game mode. But there's still a lot of problems which I think they can tweak to make it better. I'm still not a huge fan of the parachute spawns and the spawn within the carrier after you get the first MCOM. For several reasons. I think it diverts attention away. A lot of times if you're, you know, with 64 players, it's really hard to get them organized. So what happens a lot of times is you'll just dominate a team for, you know, 2/3 of the game, and then both carriers will somehow open up, and then everybody will go to the opposite carrier. No one will play defense. Everybody wants to play offense, and that creates, like, you know, some really painful game experiences. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the game mode itself or if it's just something that needs to be tweaked. I think if they fix the parachute spawns, that would be a really easy way to fix it because it already goes really fast. I think games typically last between 10 to 15 minutes, which is quick for a Battlefield 4 game. You know, some Conquest games can last 30 minutes sometimes. So Carrier Assault is a faster paced game mode, that's for sure, and I think that's one of the things I like about it. Now, do I see myself playing Carrier Assault a lot? I'm not sure on that yet. I've still been trying to come to terms with it because what I was expecting was a Titan mode like experience, when in reality it's nothing like that. It's very unique in its own way, and, you know, I think a lot of the negativity towards it, even from myself, when, you know, before, if you would have asked me this yesterday, I would have said carrier mode sucks, but I had so much fun playing it yesterday. I almost think that, hey, you know, maybe there really is something here. Maybe we were a little too negative on it to begin with. And I think time will tell with this game mode. I still stand behind what I said in my first initial impressions video, that, you know, I think a few tweaks and carrier mode could be one of the more exciting game modes, especially if you had a really organized teams going against each other, because then you can assign people to go outside, people to stay on defense, and that's when it gets really interesting. But overall, you know, we are running out of time here. I spent a lot of the time talking about the weapons and the actual game modes. I think the maps are awesome. I don't have any negative things to say about the maps. I know a lot of you guys said that, what is it, Nanshaw or whatever it's called, Strike, was the worst. I actually don't mind that map. I still think that Operation Mortar and probably Wavebreaker are still my favorites, like I initially thought in, you know, my first couple of videos. But Wavebreaker is a tough map. It's an awesome map. It looks cool. You know, the whole concept behind the map is awesome. But if you just focus on the inner points, you'll lose. It is really difficult to hold all three of those in a row. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, essentially there's a sub base in the middle that has the 3 points going across, and then on the outside there's points on each of the islands. It can get really difficult if you're on a bad team, and it can lead to some slaughters, that's for sure. So Wavebreaker is a tough map to play if you're not on an organized team, in my experiences, but I still think it's an awesome map. So overall, Naval Strike is a good DLC in my mind. It offers good weapons and good maps. I mean, if you're still disappointed with the core aspect of Battlefield 4, you don't like, you know, some of the problems with Battlefield 4, those still exist, unfortunately. But this DLC does feel unique. It reminds me a lot of Aftermath because it seems to feel so, oh, and that was a huge thunderclap. It feels so much different than the DLCs we've got before. So I definitely think that it's the best DLC for Battlefield 4 so far. It's going to be hard to top. I'm really interested to see what the future ones are, because I can see this one being a little bit difficult to top, because they did a pretty good job on the maps and the weapons and just the overall presentation. So let me know what you guys think, though. I've seen a lot of different comments throughout Reddit, throughout, you know, Facebook, even my Twitter. Different people leaving comments saying, well, you know, Naval Strike's okay, but it doesn't run well. I'm not a fan of Carrier Assault. So let me know what you guys think, though, because I'm curious. Do you guys like Naval Strike? Do you think it's a good DLC? But if you did miss any of my past videos, here's a chance to catch up. I did do my Naval Strike's first impressions a couple days ago, so if you want some more Naval Strike, if you want to hear how my opinions sort of evolved as time went on, be sure to check that video out. And as always, I have a cool little Wind Waker HD video up on my second channel, so check that out if you've been following that series. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.